Now to British Columbia, where heavy rain is falling again tonight. For the third time in a week, an atmospheric river is drenching southwestern BC, where flooding and landslides have already disrupted the lives of thousands of people. It has been the wettest fall ever recorded in the Pacific Northwest. Rainfall records were broken in many places, including Vancouver and Abbotsford. And it's not over. The red on this map shows rainfall warnings in effect on BC's south and central coast.
This storm may not have the same level of intensity as we saw mid-month in some of our hardest hit areas, such as the Fraser Valley, but the cumulative effect of this succession of storms will be and continues to be a major challenge.
In Abbotsford and the Fraser Valley, farmers already flooded once in the Sumas Prairie area are watching the water rise again. That's where our Heather Yourex-West is tonight. Heather?
Donna, it has been a very busy day for already exhausted city crews and residents with localized flooding today along the Trans-Canada Highway through Abbotsford, as well as onto farmlands of both the Sumas and Matsqui prairies. A number of buildings and homes have had to be evacuated today as this community deals with heavy rain once again.
The tractor and some muddy oars. When the Sumas Prairie was flooded nearly 2 weeks ago, it was the only way Ed Friesen could get around his farm.
The flow of water it was so strong you couldn't stand up, it would take you away.
But instead of cleaning up, the poultry and blueberry farmer is bracing for yet another storm.
Well, we sandbagged the barns, the back doors. We got all the equipment on the high ground this time. And yeah.
This is water from the Nooksack River that is now making its way into the Sumas Prairie, adding to the burden of waterlogged farmers who are desperate for things to start drying out so they can clean up.
And this water is largely from last weekend's storm. There is still more rain to come, with another atmospheric river now bearing down on the region.
This event is very strong. It's the third consecutive storm in a week with very little respite in between these events. So the effects are cumulative. Snow melt is also a component of this event and will add to the storm totals of rain into the rivers and creeks.
I am optimistically hopeful that we're going to get through this round 3.
Abbotsford's mayor says so far local infrastructure, including a newly repaired dike along the Sumas River, is standing up against the pressure. Hundreds of members of Canada's armed forces have also helped the city prepare.
So the water was up to the sandbags, roughly a foot below the top layer, which is why we built a foot up, and it's doing the job it's supposed to.
But for the flood-weary, the seemingly endless rains are taking a toll.
It's heartbreaking. It's like, is this going to keep happening? The poor farmers down from us too, the cows. How much can people take?
After a summer of drought, the region now experiencing the wettest November it's ever seen.
And these rains will continue overnight into Wednesday before there is finally a break in the forecast. Officials hoping then focus can turn to recovery. Donna?
All right. Thanks, Heather. The atmospheric river is also heightening the risk of avalanches. The avalanche danger is now high to extreme in mountainous regions across much of BC. Back-to-back weather systems have left a huge accumulation of snow at high elevations. Makes for great skiing, but rising temperatures and extreme winds can also create perfect avalanche conditions. The community of Hope was completely cut off by the catastrophic rain and flooding over 2 weeks ago. And now major highways are closed again as a precaution, isolating Hope for a second time. Robin Gill reports.
Brian McLean is counting on 500 sandbags in case the river behind his home gets the best of him.
I'm 72 years old and, that's my retirement package.
The Riverview neighborhood in Hope, BC sits on the banks of the Coquihalla River.
It's pretty hard to determine. The river's as high as it usually gets, so, the 100 milliliters could really cause some problems.
Don't they know it?
I don't want to see that water up against my front door. It got too close the first time.
Neil Peterson barely sleeps after floodwaters rushed up to his house 2 weeks ago.
I get up at every 2 hours or so and I go walk down the river and see how high it is, see if it's going up or down.
Just to give you an idea of the extent of the storm damage here in Hope, this is a fellow road, and it's not lost on the people who live here that that's a reference to a Shakespearean tragedy. This may seem like it's the end of the road, but in fact, This road extended way beyond those construction crews. There was all this land in between, but the river now runs through it.
Hope is used to being a stop for people traveling between the Lower Mainland and the interior of British Columbia. But the Trans-Canada Highway is closed, and Hope is a ghost town. That's worrying the mayor.
Businesses have really taken a hit, of course. The highways are open, the highways are closed.
Highway 1 is the single most important artery in the Lower Mainland. And when it's closed for an extended period, I know that it's difficult and very challenging for people.
But the main worry is protecting homes. A dozen are on evacuation alert. Brian McLean and his friends managed to clean up the mess from the last time.
I mean, I've already had my house flooded once.
And for him, that's enough. Robin Gill, Global News, Hope, BC.